Hello and welcome to CentOS installation. This is the fun part. Yes, this is where we're gonna get our hands dirty. We're gonna go ahead and download the CentOS ISO image file from the internet. Once we have it downloaded, then we will go through the installation, a complete installation of CentOS Linux operating system. So are you ready? So now I want you to go ahead and open up your browser, any browser that you prefer, whether it's IE, Firefox, or Chrome. So let's go in. I have my browser open already. Um, I will go into Google. Now, the second step is you could use Google or any search engine that you like, and I want you to type CentOS download and hit enter. Once you hit enter, you will get the first link. I want you to go ahead and click on it, or you could simply go ahead and click on download. But first, let's go to this first link. So on the first link or the first page, you will see download CentOS. Now, sometimes you will see three options in this page. One is a DVD ISO, second one is everything DVD ISO, and third one is minimal ISO. If you are seeing three or if you're seeing two right now, it doesn't matter because what we need is DVD ISO. This is the one that we need to click on. So go ahead and click on DVD ISO. This will bring you to the links where the ISO images are saved. So all those links are actually the links to the servers, or they're oftentimes referred to as mirrors. These mirrors, when you click on it, will take you to the file where the file location is. So go ahead and pick any one of your choice. I will recommend that you pick the first one. So go ahead and click on the first one. Once you click on the first one, it will ask you or prompt you to save the file. You have to save the file to the location. So go ahead and click OK. If you do not know where the file is being saved, you see this little arrow here. If you are using the Firefox, you will see this little arrow here. Click on it and it will tell you that it is being downloaded right now. I do not want to download because I have already downloaded that file previously, because I don't want it to waste time, your time and my time, to go through the complete download. So let's minimize this page. Let's go to our desktop because all my downloads go into my desktop. Now you already have this CentOS file. Okay, now I want you to go ahead and click on, or double click on your Oracle Virtual Box, the icon you have on your desktop. If you do not have that icon on your desktop, then you go to the start menu and find that up, and you will go ahead and start from here. When it opens up, you will see the My First Linux VM, the one we created earlier. These two, you're probably not going to see it because I was playing around with some Windows virtual machine. Anyways, you could just ignore them. Click on the My First Linux VM and click on Start. Now this is powering up your virtual machine. This is exactly the same way as if you powering on your physical machine by pressing the button on it. So now it is asking, since this virtual machine has no operating system, so by default it's asking you to attach a virtual disk to it. So it is asking where is the location of that virtual disk which you want to install that operating system. So go ahead and click on this little icon, which will browse us to our desktop where we have our ISO image saved. Click on this little one and you'll see right here on our desktop folder, when you click on our desktop, you come down and you'll see right here it says CentOS 7, which we have downloaded a few minutes ago. So go ahead and click on Open and click on Start. By the way, this top thing right here is telling you you have option to capture keyboard option turn on. This will cause the virtual machine to automatically capture. You could just go ahead and cancel it. Now it's telling you at this screen, it's telling you this is a CentOS 7. Install CentOS 7, test this media and install CentOS 7, or do the troubleshooting. Right now, by default, test this media and install CentOS 7 is selected. You do not want to test this media. Usually this option is picked when you have a DVD install. And the reason we do the test, because sometimes the DVD have scratches on it. That's why we wanted to go through the test. So since this is ISO image, we don't do that. So go ahead and hit up arrow key on your keyboard, and it will select or highlight the top one. It says install CentOS 7. And now go ahead and hit enter. It is actually bringing the ISO image, copying the files that are needed to actually install the operating system. So it will go through certain startup processes. It will start up the GUI that will allow us to go through the installation of the Linux CentOS operating system. We will give it a minute for the GUI to come up. See right here, it says starting installer, one moment. And the installer, the GUI itself, is called Anaconda. This is the name they have given. Why? I don't know. But this is the name. If you wanted to keep in mind, you just remember that Anaconda is the GUI tool or the GUI wizard that will help you to install the Linux operating system. Now you are on the welcome to CentOS 7 welcome page. What language would you like to use during the installation? By default, English, and I am in United States, so I'll pick English, United States. If you are in any other country, I will recommend that you pick that country, or if you want to pick a different language, you could pick that. However, I am not going to tell you how you could go through the installation with different language. Anyway, so I would prefer that you stay on English, and then you could pick a different country. Now go ahead and click on continue at the bottom right. Okay, so now it says please complete items marked with this action, this icon, before continuing to the next step. Now the date and time is the first one. We have already pre-selected America's New York time zone. If you want to change the time zone depending on which time zone you are in, go ahead and click on it and change the time zone. Keyboard, it by default it selects English and US. Language support, again English, United States. Installation source, local media, which means that we are installing the operating system through the local ISO image. So it's already been selected. Perfect. Next stop, software selection. This is where it has by default the software selection as minimal install. If you leave that as is minimal install, then it will install the Linux operating system, but it will not have any GUI on it. Well, remember one thing, most of the time in corporate environment there are no GUI on Linux. But since we are going through some practice, we will go through some GUI practices as well, because I do want you to know how GUI works in Linux as well. So we'll go ahead and click on software selection, and that's where we will pick a couple of different additional software that are required. In the minimum install, we have other options as well. If you wanted to use system administration tools or any other tools, you could pick them. We could leave as default. Compute node, anything, any debugging tools, directory clients, hardware monitoring tools, development tools. Most of these tools are used by developers. Since we are not going through the development training, we will leave that as is. Infrastructure server. What type of server are we going to run on this machine? I will tell you, you could pick any one that you think you might need it later on. You could pick the DNS server for now, because we are going to cover DNS, which is bind, in this training. So you could pick DNS. If you do not pick DNS server at this time, there is no issue. We could always install DNS server or package later on. But anyway, just to show you how it works, I just selected one DNS name server. Anything else that you wanted to select here, you could. If you don't want to, just follow my lead. Then let's go to the next one, says file and print server. You could leave everything as is. As said, basic web server, we don't need it. Virtualization host, no. Server with GUI, yes, this is where we have to come in. And If you notice, as you are going down, all the other options that were available on the base environments are actually added here as well. So don't worry about it. They are repetitive. It's not that this option will have a different DNS server and with this base environment. So right now we are in the server with GUI environment. I want you to go down and pick um, KDE, which is KDE is a Plasma workspace, a highly configured graphical user interface. I also want you to pick Java platform because if we are running certain application that requires Java, we could bring that up. Let's see what we have. We have all the virtualization tool. Um, okay, I think we are good here with the KDE. Now the next one is Genome Desktop. Now Genome Desktop are the desktop that also provide some type of applications for the user. Let's say if you wanted to use Firefox or if you wanted to use calculators or something on the GUI side, then you could select this desktop as well. So go ahead and click on Genome Applications. Any other tools we need? Internet application, email, chat, video conferencing software. We don't want that because most likely in corporate environment you will not be using any of these. KDE Plasma Workstation, Workspaces, Development and Creative Workstation, and that's pretty much it. You don't really need any other applications or add-ons for the selected environment. Now go ahead and click Done. Now you will see this option right here it will tell you checking software dependency. It means it is going to our ISO image and asking that ISO image, hey, this user has selected these many packages. Do you have these packages for me to install on this operating system? It's going to say, hey, okay, no problem. Let me go ahead and check that. So it's checking the source and it's checking the software dependency as well. So what is needed for those add-ons that we need to install. Installation destination, while it's running, we'll go to the next one. It says installation destination. Now, how do we want to partition our disk? Installation destination right now it says automatic partitioning selected. If you want to change that, meaning right now we have 10 gig, this is the disk size that we selected when we were creating the virtual machine. This disk size has shown up here is telling us we have 10 gig of disk space. How do you want to partition it? We are telling it automatically configure the partitioning. If you know or if your organization has a requirement to partition a disk into different slices or different partitioning, then you will go ahead and click on I will configure partitioning. Now go ahead and click on Done. Next one is KDump. KDump is enabled if something goes wrong. K means kernel. If there is something wrong with your system, a kernel is going to write some messages, some logs that is often referred in Linux language as a dump. That is enabled. So it's always a good practice to leave that enabled. So this way, if you are troubleshooting with your vendor, let's say if you have CentOS, Red Hat involved, they could go ahead and take a look at your logs. Next one we have is networking and hostname. Okay, we are on a network and hostname configuration. At the bottom you'll see hostname. Go ahead and highlight what we have right now and hit delete and type in the host name of the Linux operating system. We'll type the same one as we picked for our VM, my first Linux VM, and click on apply. As soon as you click on apply, you'll see the current host name will change to the host name that you have picked. Now the second thing is to configure the Ethernet. Now remember, by default, if your machine or your virtual machine, this is your virtual machine, if it is running on a PC that has 1 gig of network port, it will show up here as speed 1 gig. And right now it is showing it's wired for me because I have selected, or my machine where I'm running this virtual machine is wired. So go ahead and click on configure, and by default it will show up the tab as Ethernet ENP0S3 is the name of our network adapter. So we'll click on general and we'll click automatically connect to this network when it is available. The rest of the setting is blacked out by default. You could leave as default. IPv4 setting is the setting for automatic DHCP. If you want to assign an IP, then you would have to change it to manual, but we want the IP to be assigned automatically, so we will leave it as is. And the last one is IPv6 settings. We don't use that right now, so go ahead and click on save. So once you click on save, you will see it tells you automatically connected. It is given an IP already, and now you could go ahead and click on done. Okay, and so our network and host name has been configured. Now the last part is security profile. No profile is selected. You could leave that as is unless your organization has a specific procedure to put it in place for security policies. Then you could define it here. But for now, you could just leave as is and go ahead and click on begin installation. Once you click on begin installation, you will see at the bottom it will start creating your partitions that were selected, that you asked the system to select it for you. Now it's going to starting package installation process. While this is going through the package installation, we have two user settings to define. First is root password. So go ahead and click on root password is not set, and here you would have to put in the root password. Pick anything that you will remember. If you notice, I picked a weak password. You should pick a strong password if you are if you're working for a company or if you are in an organization. But if you are just following my lab or you're doing this everything as a tutorial, that is fine. You could pick a weak password. However, if you notice at the bottom it says the password you have provided is weak. The password fails the directory check. It is based on a dictionary word, which you will have to press done twice to confirm. So okay, I understand it is a weak password. In order for me to keep that password, I have to press done twice. 1, 2. Now it has taken that weak password. User creation. Let's go ahead and create our first user. Full name. Let's put in our first name. By default, Linux takes the first name as the first letter, first initial. Last name is a complete last name. So for me, the username will be I-Afzal. Keep your username shorter than 32 characters and you do not use spaces. That is fine. We are not using any spaces. We are only using 6 letters. Make this user administrator. You could leave that out. Requires a password to use this account. Yes. Let's pick a password. Again, it is weak, I understand, and I would have to do the same thing done twice. Okay, it is done. Now, if you come down and you notice right here, the operating system is installing, or this wizard is installing packages for this operating system. Total number of packages that are required to be installed are 1397. You might have a little more or a little less, but that's okay. It depends and it changes over time what other packages are installed, what other dependencies are installed. So again, if your packages do not match with my packages, do not panic. You are okay. So now you'll see it is going through the packages installation. At this point, it has installed almost 400 packages, and there's still about 600 to 800 packages that needs to be installed. And this process will take, I would say, somewhere between 10 minutes to 30 minutes. I am going to fast forward this entire process to save time. Now the packages installation has been completed. Now it is going through some post installation setup. Alright, finally our installation has been completed successfully. Now CentOS is now successfully installed and ready for you to use. Go ahead and reboot to start using it. Click on reboot. Once the system comes back online, it will give you the initial setup page. The first page is about licensing. You have to accept the license. Click accept license agreement and click on done. Network and host name. If you notice, we have already selected this network and host name configuration during our installation, so that you don't need to do it again. Click done. And right here it says finish configuration. Go ahead and click on finish configuration. Alright, finally our entire Linux installation has completed. Now we have to log in the first time. Click on your name, or you could also log in as root. If you remember, you have picked a root password, you would have to click on not listed and type in username root and password, but for now we'll go in as ourselves. And we will put in our password. Click on sign in or hit enter. Alright, this is the desktop. This is how it looks like in CentOS. It is very similar to Red Hat CentOS. You have these icons right here. You could resize them if you want to. You could delete any icon. You could create icon, and you could explore other things on the application and spaces. So also one more thing, when it starts up, it also gives you this welcome page. So you just leave as English. Go ahead and click on next. Typing, if you want to change anything, you could leave it default. Location services, I usually keep it off. If you want to leave it on, it's really up to you. Click next. Connect to online accounts, you don't have to do that. Click skip, and then start using CentOS Linux. So once again, congratulations. So now you know how to do the complete Linux CentOS installation. If you think that you missed something, then I would recommend you to go ahead and delete this entire Linux VM and go ahead and create a new virtual machine and do the Linux installation again from scratch. The more you do, the more practice you will do, the more you will learn. Alright, good luck.